Yep, Gremlins 2, a new batch for the NES game, based off the movie. And I actually love the sequel. That's way better than the first one. But someday I'll talk about well, both the first one and the second. So anyways, let's get this over with. This is Gremlins 2, the new batch for the NES. Just like the same plot as the movie, you play a main antagonist Gizmo. Oh, but they're watching astounding cutscenes. Seems like you play Gizmo. Oh, obviously, throws weapons of mass destruction. Throwing tomatoes. Also has his weapon, just like in the movie. And a bunch of bats, bouncing tomatoes, and later on in the game, named Gremlins, when you end up in the office. It's just like in the film, Gizmo gets wet. And all of them become mogwais. And then later on become gremlins. But believe it or not, this game becomes a little bit harder. Since it's done by the company of Sunsoft, where that also did like the Batman games. And even Blaster Master for the NES. That's also on Game Boy. Anyways, the game's graphics are pretty good. Actually not half bad. And when I played this as a kid at my best friend named Little Man, yes, that's his name, I could not get further into the game without using cheat codes like you saw in the opening, and passwords. And every time you beat a stage, you'll get a password. But like last time, if you're like me, you can probably beat this game in less than in a couple of minutes if you use cheats. And the game becomes a little bit more challenging, finding more gremlins and more bosses are pretty easy. The game will become a little bit hard to do, but after being Mr. Miyagi, from both Gremlins 1 and 2, you had to buy some items from him, even though he died in the film. Spoiler alert, he's a ghost, and you have to buy like certain items for extra lines and power-ups of balloons when Gremlin falls into a bottomless pit. Will assist him on the way. And you have to pay the toll. Oh, and get like these certain special weapons to use those on enemies. That'll be quite useful throughout the entirety of the game. Just like in the film, you'll be finding obviously gremlins, and it's from the movie. There are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably like 8 stages total. Probably 7. You have to avoid like spikes, inks on the ground, jump platform to platform, just like in any video game, avoiding deadly traps. But I want to make sure you will have enough items to get throughout the stage. because this game ain't gonna be easy this far in. Also, there's like a few things I did not mention about this game. The music is amazingly good. Skip that one. The soundtrack that did Sunset Software did pretty well to make the music sound good. But basically, my favorite music had to be The Office. And it's awesome. The sound effects in this game are amazingly perfect for an old NES game from 1990. A bit older than I am, from 29 years ago. So to this game's credit, it's amazingly perfect. But when you pause the game, you can see how many lives you got, how many balloons and health you got, and high scores you collect on Crystal. Oh, every time you defeat a gremlin, you pick up those crystal balls. I like how this game is doing like scenes from the movie, sort of. And I like how there's like most likely different gremlin enemies with different costumes. It's plainly the same enemies over and over again. But all I can say is Gremlins 2, the new batch that's based off the film, is spot on good. And you play the adorable Gizmo and have to get enough of powerful weapons like the crossbow weapon, just like in the film, using fire. You're on stride that becomes a spider here in the film. So to cut to the chase, we'll just wrap this up. Because this review will be also pretty short. And here's the final boss. The Stripe has a giant spider. Just avoid his giant legs, which will be almost impossible to avoid. And just know his patterns and he is finished. And we get one final scene of the game. Seeing all the gremlins in one room. And also another spoiler alert of those of you who haven't watched the movie yet. And they use the electricity gremlin. Yes, there is one. And zap it on all the gremlins that get wet. And get electrified to death. And that was Gremlins 2, the new batch for the NES. The story is basically the same as the film, so well, to its credit, it's actually a pretty great game. And like that, we're back at the beginning of the game. Also take notes if you have to use passwords, or if you check on mine. And if you find this game a little bit too hard, you can just skip all that and get to the final stage. So Gremlins 2, the new batch for the NES, is actually a fabulously fantastic game, but boy is it hard. There's also a Game Boy, which might be good or latter, or terribly bad. And lots of people think the Game Boy is not that good. But when I was younger, I didn't find it that terrible. So I give Gremlins 2, the new batch for the NES, it for being a pretty darn good game and classic platforming game. A 9 out of 10 to be a huge success of a interesting, fun, filled gameplay. Sure, it becomes rather difficult trying not to take damage, but that's the fun of that. And I do love this game. I wish I were playing this, just so I get more views to this video. But anyways, I'll catch you on the next video game based off a film. Please like, subscribe, and more views. So, thanks for watching. And catch you on in the other videos. See ya!